All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Alex once again with another episode of the EOT News Flash. This is episode 109. It's a brand new world. Now, Chris was supposed to be on the show tonight. We had about 2 minutes of footage recorded, actually, but unfortunately, we had some really awkward audio issues, and it was much to our detriment, not up to quality that would even be listenable for you guys. So I do apologize for that. I was really looking forward to getting Chris's input on a lot of things, on the things we're going to be talking about tonight. So bearing that in mind, we're going to be doing a sort of ad-lib section this weekend as we are recording the second episode of Commander in the Dungeon. Finally, I know. We're going to be doing, like I said, a little ad-lib sort of bit towards the end of that day where we talk about the things that we actually are talking, that I'm going to be talking about tonight. So this is me sort of like the prompt, and then we'll have the rebuttal this weekend, and that will be posted maybe in a separate video, but we'll see what's going on with that when we actually record that. So that being said, let's get into tonight's topics. Obviously, we have banned and restricted announcements to talk about for 2 formats. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the core set pre-release for M20 that took place over the weekend. My girlfriend and I competed in a Saturday event for Two-Headed Giant. I wasn't super high on playing in a solo event for this core set. Core sets just aren't all that exciting for me. But I thought it'd be a really good time to, just play some Two-Headed Giant with my girlfriend and, open some cool cards and see what we could pull off. So coming off of War of the Spark Limited, it's very obvious that, the two are not even close to being remotely in line with each other. One has, obviously lots of crazy cool planeswalkers with static abilities that make the games go completely wild, and the other has bread and butter magic, first strike flying, and lifelink and stuff like that. So that being said, I think if you go back and watch my previous video where I talked a little bit about all of the different aspects of Core Set 2020 and sort of the things that the set's trying to do, I do believe that it does all of those really well. There's a lot of really cool reprints in this set. Things for Modern, the ley lines are great, the Scrylands, the temples are great for Standard, great for EDH. The Cavalier cycle is just bonkers, and we'll probably see some good Standard play there. A number of Planeswalkers are going to see some play as well. All of the 3-color legendary creatures are great for Commander as well. I know Ben is super excited about building Yarok. I'm building Yarok as well. Let's see, we have all the monocolored legendaries as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the set. There's a lot of really powerful cards. Risen Reef has broken out as sort of the best uncommon in this set, and I'm already seeing some decks built of that online for Standard, and I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. So yeah, there's a lot of components to this set, and I think it all went off really well. Unfortunately, the games that my girlfriend and I played at the Two-Headed Giant pre-release did not go as I would have liked them to. In one game, our opponents, we just went to time. The game just took too long. In another game, we got mana flooded, and then in our third round, we got mana screwed. And just it's the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, when you've got best of 1 games where you've got to really just roll with the punches, and unfortunately, the decks that I put together for us I thought they were good, but for whatever reason, just mana screw, mana flood, our opponents just having better cards or whatever, it just didn't come together all that well for us. So it was still a lot of fun. I like getting to play Two-Headed Giant. It's my favorite way to play pre-release Magic, especially when everybody's kind of on the same page and knows what's going on, and it's a lot of fun. But the format is quite slow. I've been doing a lot of test drafts online. Looking forward to do some arena drafting here next couple of weeks as well. It's a slow format. It definitely is. It's a very bomb-centric format. It's a very synergistic driven format. I look at some of the removal that's in the set, like Pacifism and Murder. I'm like, yeah, these are good cards, but I'd rather take a more impactful piece of a synergy for my deck rather than just straight up removal. So it's a weird format for sure, and I am looking forward to drafting it this Friday for the first time in paper, and then really see what I can take from that and apply that to arena drafts and beyond. But we'll see. But I think it is a very cool set, and I'm excited to play with a lot of the cards, especially in EDH. That's coming. I officially have put all of my loose deck lists in a folder on my they were all in a jumble on my desktop, and they are now in a Magic Notes and Deck Lists folder on my desktop, and it is a massive accumulated knowledge for sure. But yeah, anyway, we'll talk more about Core 2020 this weekend with Chris and the guys after we do our gameplay video. But let's dig into the real meat of what's gone on this week. So Monday, obviously, it's the first Monday. It's the Monday after the pre-release, and the ban and restricted announcement drops. So for non-multiplayer formats, so primarily for constructors, we're looking at Modern specifically. Wizards decided to take some action against the oppressive presence of the Hogak Dredgevine deck or Bridgevine deck. People have been saying, well, you just need to ban Hogak outright, ban Altar of Dementia, ban Bridge from Below, ban Faithful Saluting. I mean, it's run the gambit of what cards need to be banned in the format. But Monday morning Wizards laid it down on us, and they decided to axe Bridge from Below. Now, if you don't know what Bridge from Below does, I'll read it to you real quickly, because this is a very strange card. It was printed back in Future Sight, which was that sort of wacky one out there set that broke all the rules. So Bridge from Below is an enchantment, black, enchantment at rare. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And whenever a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, exile Bridge from Below. That's really weird. It doesn't actually do anything if you cast it. So obviously, your first thought is, oh, well, I'll just play it and I'll blow it up somehow. But of course, that's not how we do it. We're doing things here. We're milling this thing with Faithful Saluting. We're putting it in the graveyard with Stinkweed Imps. This goes into the graveyard and activates from there and enables these massive combo turns from these Hogak decks where they're able to combine this Altar of Dementia and sacrificing Hogak to that to just consistently put creatures in the grave or cards in the graveyard that you can then delve with Hogak, make more zombies, and then convoke for Hogak and just continuously sack Hogak to the altar, mill your opponent out, or just beat them down with the 8/8 with Trample or a bunch of 2/2 zombies. So it's a really goofy card. And when Hogak was first revealed, this is the card that everybody put in their decks. You look at modern Dredge decks without Hogak, and Bridge from Below isn't seen. It just doesn't exist for those decks because they have a better engine in things like Prized Amalgam, Stinkweed Imp, and Bloodghast. Hogak was the card that made this actually playable again in Modern. And that's pretty cool to see a card get revived because of a really powerful card reprinted for the first time. So the question really is why did we ban this? And I think that this is probably the one card that holds the whole deck together. Obviously, Hogak is sort of like the key that turns the engine on. But Bridge from Below is really the engine that makes the whole thing work. You take Bridge from Below out, and you've really got to build the deck in a different way to take advantage of the Altar of Dementia, if you even still can. And the zombies, you're not making zombies anymore because of Bridges being left out. So you really have to kind of figure out how the deck functions from there. So Bridge from Below, I think, was the best target for it. It's a really dangerous thing to ban something like Altar of Dementia or even Hogak himself, just because those cards were literally printed and released not a month ago. Those were part of Modern Horizons, and to ban a card that's in a brand new set is such a feel bad. Wizards is a corporation. They are a company that are interested in the bottom line, and to say that you can open a pack of Modern Horizons and open up a Hogak or Altar of Dementia and say, oh, you can't actually play that, sorry, is a real feel bad. Now, obviously, Bridge from Below was recently printed in Ultimate Masters, but that set was last year, so I guess it's safer to do that with Bridge than it would be anything else. So it's the best solution here. People are still crying for a ban of Faithful Saluting, but I am of the opinion that card holds up so many other decks that to do that would be like axing Brainstorm from Legacy, which just kills so many decks. Maybe not kill, but certainly neuters the power level of those decks in general. So we're going to see, just in time for the Mythic Championship in Barcelona, I believe, a Modern format that does not have Bridge from Below in it. So we're going to see what I think really what Modern should look like with Modern Horizons in the format, but not this looming specter of Hogak in the background, sort of just, ruining everybody's day. broader implications on Modern, of course, some things to think about. Arclight Phoenix is obviously the deck that's going to be popping in everybody's mind as the best deck in the format right now, followed closely by humans. In fact, can certainly make an argument for that as well. But I think there are the checks and balances that are existing now in the format to sort of keep everything, in a relatively nice, neat bundle, despite the format being probably still far too fast than what Wizards is constantly saying it's a turn 4 format. But hey, Splinter Twin is still banned. Anyway, so yeah, we're still seeing things like Eldrazi Tron making 4 Chalice of the Voids, Karn the Great Creator to go and get Blanco 7th Lattice to shut your opponents out of the game. Arclight Phoenix is still reanimating Phoenixes on turn 2 and bashing in for like 12 points of damage. And, Teferi decks with blue-white control are still completely locking people out of the game and just making life miserable. Yay! So, is Modern in a good spot? I still think it is. We're still seeing the impact of Modern Horizons into Modern as a format. We're seeing Seasoned Pyromancer make its breakouts into Mardu Pyromancer decks and Jund. We're seeing Ren and 6, who was like a $10 card at pre-order, is pushing upwards of $50, $60 because it is become a legacy, vintage, and modern staple. And I'm kicking myself for not picking any up when I could have. Damn it. But anyway, so I think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see as I mentioned before, what Modern was meant to be without the specter of Hogak looming over it. We might still see a Hogak deck in the format, but I don't think it's going to be to the just absurd level of power that this Bridge Vine Hogak nonsense created. Bridge from Below is not a Magic card. It has a converted mana cost, but it breaks all the rules of what Magic cards actually should do. At me in real life, I don't care, but that's just the way I feel about it. This card, it's been overdue for a ban, and it just goes to show that graveyard abusive abilities and keywords really don't make for great Magic. We've already seen Golgari Grave Troll come back to the format and then get banned literally 6 months later. So you see these things. So graveyards, good, but they don't need to be like the rest of your hand. So anyway, so let's move on from Modern and let's turn our attention to EDH, the format that I am unabashedly back in love with. I spend far too much time at work thinking about, oh, that's a cool card. Don't I have one of those? And going home and realizing, oh, I don't have to buy one now. I forgot just how addictive buying Magic cards is, but that's neither here nor there. But let's talk about EDH changes, because on Monday, Sheldon Menery, sort of the godfather of the EDH Elder Dragon Highlander, aka Commander, dropped a pretty significant bomb, and it's kind of funny just how much Discord has exploded in the wake of this announcement, more so than the announcement of the cards itself. So let's get to that real quick here. So, boom. First up, 2 bans in EDH. One, Paradox Engine, the mythic artifact from Aether Revolt, that's right, that enables all kinds of wacky combo kills. It's a 5-drop artifact. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control, sets all of your mana rocks, your mana dorks. This is a great way to combo kill somebody very, very quickly out of nowhere. A lot of CEDH decks use this card as sort of like their win condition. And if you're not familiar with competitive EDH, I would definitely recommend you go onto YouTube and look up Playing with Power MTG or just competitive EDH games in general and watch some of that nonsense. Holy crap. It's berserk. Anyway. And we also saw Iona Shield of Emeria banned. 6 white, legendary creature, angel, mythic rare, 7/7 that flies. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a color, and your opponents can no longer cast spells of the chosen color. So monocolor decks shut down completely. So those 2 cards axed from the format. On the flip side, unbanned Painter's Servant, a card that I didn't realize was banned. There's a lot of cards I've had to go and look up and see are actually on the ban list. Gifts Ungiven, for instance, on the ban list. Made that mistake when I first built up my first EDH deck back coming into the format. Sorry. So, Painter's Servant, 2 generic mana, artifact creature, Scarecrow. I have the lovely masterpiece art on the screen. It's a 1/3. As it enters battlefield, choose a color, and all cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells and permanents, are they chosen. So, all cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells, and permanents. Okay, so it's encompassing everything, whether it's on the board or your opponent's hand or in their decks. Now is that chosen color in addition to their other colors. So if you're familiar with legacy painter decks, this combos with Grindstone, which allows you to effectively have Painter Servant in play, activate Grindstone, which says mill, I think it's the top 2 cards of your opponent's library, and if those cards share a color, you do the process again. Well, if your opponent's entire deck is, let's say, blue, it mills them out instantaneously. And so that's the combo that's always sort of been like lurking in the shadows here. But there's so many other things that you can do with Painter Servant. Things like Jaya Ballard. All of a sudden, her ability to destroy permanents becomes basically Vindicate. You can start using like Red Elemental Blast, Blue Elemental Blast, Pyroblast, Hydroblast to do some really wacky things. And I certainly don't know enough about the format to tell you what to do with Painter Servant, except that apparently it's so good that every copy is now sitting around the $45 mark online. So there's some magic finance for you right there, boys and girls. So really what it comes down to, sort of the explanation that was given by Sheldon Menery and the Rules Committee, and to a lesser extent, the Commander Advisory Group, the CAG, is that Paradox Engine was just, it's too easy to combo off with, and it just, like, there's nothing, you don't put this in a deck and not have it do dumb things. Like, it's one of those cards where you put it in a deck and you're going to kill somebody with it. Like, that's why you put Paradox Engine in your deck, so you can do degenerate things. And Iona is just like the ultimate feel bad card, where it just basically says you're not playing the game anymore, which is definitely a thing. And Painter Servants, they unbanned it because it's neat. When they dropped this announcement, I really looked at a lot of the ban lists, and aside from the obvious things like the Moxen, the Power 9, and most of those cards, a lot of things on that list just kind of make me go, really? Sway the Stars, Biorhythm, World Fire, Coalition Victory. Like, there's a lot of wacky, super expensive mana-wise cards that just don't seem all that broken when you have things like Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal combo. I don't know. I've not played enough EDH to really make a comment on the fact that certain things are banned, certain things are not. But, you look back at the past couple of years of Commander, and there's been like 2 or 3 cards they actually even banned. We saw Protean Hulk get unbanned. I believe it was around Masters 25. But beyond that, we've really only we've seen Leovold, Primeval Titan, Prophet of Kruphix, and what's the green primordial? Not Diluvian, not Sepulchral. The one that blows up lands. Out of all, this is a vintage level card pool that's got 0.4% of its card pool actually banned. That's not terrible, honestly. So the weird thing, though, is sort of just the hubbub, the discord that's been drawn up because of these bannings and unbannings here, and everyone's calling into question the integrity and the purpose of the Rules Committee. The one thing I love about Commander is that you can always sort of set your own internal playgroup rules. When we do our Commander in the Dungeon videos, there's a couple of things that I've gone ahead and just said, I don't want to have these in our videos, and the group has, very, nicely agreed to them. That being, there's no Soul Rings, there's no Cyclonic Rifts, and there's no mass land destruction. Infinite combos might be working their ways into that equation just to open up the sort of the deck building parameters a bit. But for the most part, those first 3 things, Soul Ring, Cyc Rift, and mass land destruction, are things that I'm just that doesn't make for fun magic. And there are some out there that might completely agree with me. You might disagree with me, though. And that's the cool thing I like about Commander, is that one of the very first rules that's actually up on the Commander website is that, playgroups will decide what works for them and what doesn't work for them. It is a social format. When you sit down to play Commander, you are essentially signing a non-verbal social contract to play the game a certain way. And if your friends are able to kind of agree on, what cards they don't like playing, what cards they do like playing, and the general power level of your decks, that is a very good thing to have happen. And sort of like the feeling towards Sheldon and the rest of the rules committee is that how dare you say what we can and can't play anymore? Casual format is subjective, fun is subjective, and that's absolutely true. But at the same time, I think that if you are going to have a governing body over a format, they obviously they created the format. Sheldon had created this format with his friends, back way back, like when Legends first came out, and it's literally just was you could only play the 5 Elder Dragons, the original Elder Dragons. Old school Nicol Bolas, Chromium, Palladium Moors, all those guys, all those 5 dragons were the only ones you could play. So, to be able to sit down and know that there is a baseline of things that you just cannot do, I think is okay for EDH, for Commander. But obviously, if your playgroup says, we don't care, we all love Paradox Engine so much, we're going to play it anyway. That's absolutely fine. But it's good to have, like I said, that baseline where if you're brand new to a playgroup and maybe you've gotten a pre-con or 2 that you've made a couple of additions to, maybe you're just building your very first deck with a cool legendary that you cracked out of a booster pack, it's good to know to sit down, that you're just not going to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to play Magic and then die on turn 2. Like, that's what we're trying to avoid here, obviously. And of course, feel bads. Like Iona Shield of Merit, you sit down with your mono blue deck and your opponent's like, okay, cool, Entomb, Reanimate, Iona, naming blue, sucks for you, kid. That's a horrible feel bad here. So while I certainly agree with those that are out there who are saying, they shouldn't have the ability to dictate what is playable in our formats, I do more strongly think that it's good to have a baseline for these things, and that your playgroup needs to be able to sort of police itself. And that's sort of, that's really the first and foremost thing that you should be doing. Like I said, this is a social format. You're signing a social contract, so to speak, when you sit down to play Commander. So, now that that's all out of the way, I want to hear back from you out there. Let's get the discussion going. We're going to hear from the rest of the guys this weekend and really get their reactions to these bans. What do they mean for Commander at large? And, will Painter Servant break the formats? With Iona gone now, does that just make mono decks just rule the day? With Paradox Engine gone, what are you competitive EDH players going to do now? Probably Flash Hulk. Let's be honest here. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing to talk about. Nobody's ever 100% happy when cards are banned or unbanned. Well, maybe not. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are playing Hogak decks who are just completely distraught that their deck is now dead. People out there who are playing Iona decks just dead. But small percent of the population, and I think what it comes down to is the greater good of all the formats here. And I think that's what they're striving here. So obviously, Wizards saw an issue with Hogak and the decks that it was associated with, so they had to take action there. The Rules Committee saw issue with Paradox Engine and Iona and decided to take action there. So again, baseline of the format that you know what's kind of going on and you have at least an idea of what to expect, and yet you still get World Order Dragon comboed out on turn 3. So anyway, let's get the discussion going, guys and gals. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about bans and unbans in a casual format? It's a little bit more of a harder difficult discussion in like in Modern, Standard, Legacy to an extent. Those are different animals altogether, where bans and unbans are for the health of the format and the longevity of the format. But Commander is sort of like this eternal thing that I don't think will ever die, because people will always play Commander in some form or fashion. So let's get the discussion rolling there. I'd really like to hear you guys' ideas of, are there other cards on the ban list that you think deserve to go off? Are there cards that the Rules Committee needs to take action on? Maybe like Soul Ring, for instance, Mana Crypt, things that are just, they generate so much value that without them on your opening turns, are you really playing the game at all? So it's always fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to that conversation, and obviously making more Commander content, because that's kind of the format that I've been able to play the most recently. So that's it for tonight, guys and gals. Was supposed to be a little bit more back and forth, but unfortunately, again, technical difficulties abound. Chris couldn't, we just couldn't hear him, unfortunately. So I will be sure to get Chris's impressions of all of this this coming week, and then we'll be able to share that with you guys and gals in the coming weeks as well. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel here. Find us on Facebook as well, and don't forget to like that page over there. And we'll be talking to you guys very, very soon. And of course, Command in the Dungeon Episode 2 coming very soon. Very soon. I'm very excited to play that game with the guys. So until then, have a great night. I'll see everybody soon.